Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We've got a great show for you. I'm Harvey Freed. He's Harry Glanz.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Harvey, for having me. It's a beautiful day, and maybe, just maybe, we're going to get some warm weather. Just maybe.
Just maybe. It's a gorgeous day out there. There's Becky Alley, top 1% of all originators. Hey, Becky. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I know I woke up 2 days ago, and I was like, oh, my God, almost half the year is over. Like, this is crazy that we're in April already. It's nuts.
April 6th. Evan Santini from Anthony John Luxury Real Estate. Anthony, thank you, Evan, for coming in. Good morning.
Thank you for having us out again. And hey, how about I'm watching this over here? You know, that was a great night last night, the UConn-Iowa game. Great job to Iowa.
That was beautiful.
Oh, I was wonderful off. Game. I did turn that off at the end. I missed that ending.
That was a nail biter down at the end.
Yeah, they played
Great
sweet
stuff.
D on Caitlin Clark. They played heavy defense on her, Harvey.
We do mortgages and real estate, Harry, but there's nothing like sports and talking about some of this great. And women's basketball here, let's just throw it out there. It has come such a long way here. It's one of the top rated shows to watch.
You can name 4 or 5 great women's basketball players right now in college. You can't name 4 or 5 men's. And I don't want to hear about Zach Edey. Okay, so there we go on that. But go ahead, name 5 guys that play on UConn.
I could.
Right, you can't.
I
you
couldn't.
can name 5. Listen, Juju Watkins at USC, she's the real deal. She could end up beating Caitlin Clark's records. Go watch her play. Okay, Paige Becker's phenomenal player. Angel Reese, great player. Okay, they're all great players. And I don't care what sport you're watching. I don't care if it's tiddlywinks. If there's a superstar flipping that little wink, you're going to watch it.
Yeah.
You're going to watch it because you like to watch superstars. You like to watch players that can play. And these people can play. It's phenomenal to watch and love it. And shooting the ball is, look at, in basketball, you got to be able to shoot the ball. They shoot the ball.
We got some superstars here. Of course, Becky Alley is going to tell us about a whole bunch of good things in mortgage side. Evan's going to fill in the real estate. And Ev, I want to go there. It's April 6th, man. Look at this day outside. But we've been jamming all year again. You and I have been fortunate to work together on a whole bunch of transactions. And one of the transactions we're going to talk about a little bit today because there's so many moving parts in a transaction. And you got to have the professional assistants. You got to have these great real estate agents out there who know how to navigate when issues come up regarding repairs, something a little crazy like, again, in our case, that septic field. But we are also going to take your calls all morning long here at 248-539-9797. Tiger Baseball's today. That's exciting news. And of course, so much going on. The Final Four kicks off again tonight. That's out in Arizona. My daughters who live there will not be going to the game unless I beg them.
Because they couldn't name 5 players.
They could not
name 5 players. Right.
Definitely. They'll be at the mall or something else here. I don't know what they're going to do. But 248-539-9797. Always mortgages and real estate. Becky, let's just talk about a little bit what's been going on out here, and we'll dive into a little bit of the interest rates too.
Yeah, it's busy. I mean, it's like the tale as old as time that we've been talking about for some time. But I will say that the last 2 weeks of March, it was a little bit of a pause. There was some hesitation out in the industry. It was almost like crickets. And I was like, what is going on? It was almost like Christmas time was happening. But I understand it was Easter, but it was like a weird vibe out there. Because normally, like at this time, everyone is ramping up. Your phone is exploding, and so when I have a moment to even think that my phone isn't ringing, I'm like, okay, where's everybody at? But I put my ear to the ground, and everyone's kind of feeling it because there's that news out there with the NAR kind of made everyone feel a certain way. But now here it is that weekend. I was up till like midnight last night, busting out pre-approvals. And the point that we're talking about the Final Four. If you're trying to get into a house, you have to shoot your shot. And the worst thing that someone can ever do is find a house and then want to get pre-approved, because at that moment in time, the house is already pending. I talked to someone last night. They're like, Becky, we love this house. We want to get pre-approved. Literally an hour later, they're like, hey, just kidding. They already accepted an offer. They didn't even wait to highest and best for the weekend. So that's kind of what's happening right now. And, the reason why we say these things is because we need to make sure that this is what is happening. We need you to be full on aware that if you want to buy a home between now and the next 12 months, you need to have your ducks in a row. I just pre-approved someone yesterday, actually, or pre-qualified them, and they're not going to buy for another 12 months. But the point is for us to understand where they're at and where they're trying to go.
Yeah, Evan, for you, we need to keep reinforcing that fact. We need to reinforce that you have to be pre-approved, not pre-qualified. We're talking approved. We're talking about verifying where the funds are coming from for the purchase. You work backwards. That's the most important thing. I could say to you, hey, Evan, I want to buy a house. And you're going to say to me, well, do you have money to buy a house? That's our job. And then we go ahead and we say to you, Evan, we've got all the documents. They have the money to buy the house. go ahead and start showing 15, 18 houses because you know they're not getting the first one, right?
No, 100% they're not getting the first one. And that's a major thing that, a lot of these buyers need to take into account that pre-approval, even if you are 12 months out, it costs you nothing to get. You just have to send documents to our lenders here and they will approve you. And then it makes it more at ease now for these buyers agents who are running all over the county to show you houses to want to work with you even more.
But what's even cooler though is that when you speak to someone, they say, hey, my agent said I need to start the conversation as soon as possible and I'm ready to buy, or we're not ready to buy yet, but we're going to. But then when they do the process, right, and then that house does come up and it's way ahead of their timeline, they're prepared and they're comfortable and they're ready to shoot their shot, like the final four. They're ready to go.
Let's go.
We're using that analogy all morning long
Yes.
here. And we are taking
Shoot
your
your shot.
calls. 248-539-9797. The persistent high rates, Becky, over the last few weeks, it really had the applications in neutral. That's a for sure. And it felt like it, but just a couple days into it, and now the sun is shining. Again, more and more clients giving calls. Got a call from the other side of the state. Hey, Harvey, we got our house sold. Whole bunch of offers came in, and now they're aggressively looking over here in the Tri-County area. So you got to really stay on the ball. Evan and I, we couldn't talk about that transaction. Maybe we'll save it for the second segment here. But definitely out there, get that strong approval letter. Be in a position of strength because you never know what can happen. Harry, one of the things that happened, and Evan and I are going to talk about, is we were the backup offer. And so often we'll talk about that backup offer. We have a qualified borrower, but because he was the backup offer, in the words of the listing agent, Evan, she goes, how are you guys ready to close so fast? And we had lots of moving parts. But by being this strong approval, again, no more qualification. That's something we can do on our phones real quick, run some vague numbers.
Yeah.
But we want the documents because the documents will document the funds to close here, which is definitely one of the most important things.
Stay on that for a second.
Okay,
because
stick with it.
so someone asked me, I was a real estate agent. They said, I've never received this before. What is it? And I was like, okay, show it to me. What is it? I don't know what it is. It said pre-qualification.
Oh, boy.
They're like, what is that? And I said, well, that means that someone had a 5-second conversation and literally just slung a piece of paper at somebody, but the pre-qualification gives you that out. That's letting you know that they did not really see anything at all for that buyer. And it's important for you as a consumer and real estate agents to understand that a pre-qualification is not a pre-approval. Pre-approval means that we have seen documents that can actually back up what they're saying, versus a pre-qualification means that I just talk to you on the phone. I don't know who you are, what you do, but here's a piece of paper and you can run around town with it.
Yeah, huge distinction in that. And Evan, we have to keep reinforcing this, and I know you do this with your buyers. Home prices are not coming down. They're not. And there's not, N-O-T, not, underline, highlighted, quoted, circle it in red. Home price is not coming down, and there's not going to be an appreciable increase in inventory. It's just not going to happen. So when you talk to your buyers, you're telling them, listen, here's the story. I mean, we're going to go out there, and we have to be ready, and you've got to understand that multiple offers, things are still going to be happening on there. So take me through a little bit of the conversations that you're prepping your buyers with.
I mean, majorly, a conversation I like to have with a lot of my clients is I've talked about this a lot on the other shows I've been on here, is I like to go after the homes that sit on the market a little bit, because I explain to my clients that, look, hey, if you want that perfect home that everybody is going after, you are going to be in a multiple offer situation. Me and Harvey had a situation like that the other weekend where the property ended up going over, I think it was $80,000 above what it was listed for. And we are back into that very strong market. So if you want that house that everybody wants, you better be willing to pay that pretty penny to get it. Or I try to sell them on the fact of, why don't you get that $450,000 house, do some renovations to it, and then you're there at that point.
All right. Home ownership, it's a pillar of the American dream. How much does it weigh on your happiness? Well, we'll read a couple articles and things that came out on that. Well, the numbers say 90%. You're happier. All right, we'll talk about your happiness and home ownership when we come back. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. All righty. Good morning. If you're just listening, it's a 9:15 a.m. Sun is shining here in Southeast Michigan. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. You can call us at Capital Mortgage Funding at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Of course, we're brought to you and powered by CMG Home Loans, NMLS 1820, Equal Housing Lender. That's where you can get professionals, experienced lenders to walk you through everything from A to Z. That is the key. Becky, it's one of those shows where I have a lot to talk about. It's going to be a quick hour. And one of the things, let's just touch on it. Again, mortgage interest rates, always part of the equation. But as Harry just mentioned in the break, people will be buying houses now if they were at 10%. It's competitive out there. People don't want to pay their landlords anymore.
No, and that's true. And some of the amazing conversations we get to have with our clients and our buyers and even real estate agents. I was talking to someone last night and they said we were ahead of our timeline. We weren't expecting to purchase. But the housing market, it's been, going up. And I said, look, one thing that is not going to ever come down right now is the price of the home because it's supply and demand. But we are going to eventually come into a moment where rates will pull back. Now, when and what that extent is, yes, that will happen, but we don't know. But one thing we want to make sure that we are aware of is that we're securing the price of the home because someone that is going to buy that same exact house 12 months from now is going to be paying more money because you can look back the last 5 years and see it's happening. Someone that bought a house in 2018 in some of these situations, the house is worth double.
Oh, yeah.
Double. So if you are smart enough and you're in that, not that you're smart enough, but if you're in that position and you're ready to go, know that you're locking in the price of the home and the interest rate is arbitrary. Take a fixed rate, secure that payment, know you have a payment in a house you can afford. And when these rates pull back, you slide down with that rate and reduce that payment. And that's where your mental state has to be.
Yeah, rates are in the 7s right now. We know that. That's a fact. I'm going to tell you this right now, and Evan can verify this for me. If there were more houses on the market and rates were in the 10s, people would buy them up because that's just it. You have to go ahead and you have to take a look at the inventory. The inventory is not going to help you. And the age population, baby boomers are now the second most populous in the United States. Millennials have overtaken that, and that happened 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. But the millennials want to buy the boomers' houses. Boomers aren't moving because either A, they don't have a mortgage, or B, they have a low rate mortgage.
Yep.
So they're going to stay in place. It's called aging in place. Now, what happens is when the boomer population, that's anybody from 1946 to 1964, as we get older, we're going to have two things are going to happen. A, we're going to need assisted care. Yep. All right, we have to move into a facility, or B, we're going to die. And then the houses become available. But right now and for the foreseeable future, you are not going to see a great appreciation in home inventory. It's just not going to happen. Will it come? Yeah, it will. And interest rates are going to come down. The Federal Reserve said, they were going to project 3 rate cuts this year. Now it's down to 1. It might come at the end of the year. But if there were so many houses on the market, people wouldn't care they don't care what the rates are right now. There are no homes on the market. And that's what every realtor, and I love Evan Santini's name. He's the great Santini, Harvey.
Of course he is.
He's the great Santini.
It is a fun name to say.
I love it.
And that's a major thing too, as you said there. I have so many buyers looking for houses right now. And if there was more inventory on the market,
wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter. They would be buying the house because that's what they're doing right now. We're looking for houses, but I have so many just stagnantly sitting there waiting for that perfect house to come up. And when it does, what happens?
Yeah.
We get caught in multiple offers.
And there's also the aging in place that is a abundantly true fact. And I know of someone that is living in a beautiful home in not Harper Woods, but Grosse Pointe. Beautiful giant house and is on the first floor because she can no longer use the stairs. But she's not going to sell. She doesn't want to go into assisted living.
Right.
And at the same time, when that moment does come, it's going to be false inventory hitting the market because more likely the dependents or her next of kin is going to be taking over that property because those type of homes don't come on the market.
Nothing like a first floor master bedroom. I'll tell you what, those things have gone shot up. And if you're looking for one of those are hard to come by. You better be ready. Again, I mentioned it at the break, but in fact, 90% of homeowners said they are happier since home ownership kicked in. And 78% of them said that they would never rent again. And that's a for sure, no matter who you talk to. There's so few bad stories about home ownership. And as you mentioned, Becky, if you bought a house in 2018, 19, and 20, boy, oh boy, your house might have already gone up $100,000. That's some awesome equity that you can either use to spring you into the next house or of course, one day, you might have to tap into that equity again. Your house isn't a piggy bank, but you can use the equity in your house, Harry, because the equity can pull you out of life.
Of course.
Life got real costly, Harry.
Of course, we said that. We always say you have to make the best and most honest financial decisions for your own family. We always say don't use your house as a piggy bank. But there comes a time when you're paying on a 4% mortgage, but you're paying 22% credit cards. Okay, do the math. If you have to take a mortgage out at 7.5% to pay off 22% debt, you're coming out way ahead. It's not even close. And Becky and Harvey and I, and everybody will tell you that's out there, that's in the business, 7.5% is still lower than 22%.
I'll never understand the way someone will clinch their pearls over hearing the interest rates on a mortgage is 7% that you can stretch out for 30 years and give yourself an affordable payment. But they're going to be like, no, man, I'd rather jack up this credit card at 22% and look at that $500 a month payment staring me right back in the face. Like, it doesn't make sense.
And I don't care what anybody says, okay? If they have $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 or $10,000, $15,000 in credit card debt, they're going to tell you, yeah, but I'm going to pay it off. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not. Trust me, you guys, you're lying to yourself. You're not paying it off. You know that. You're rolling the balances. You're paying $350 a month on the credit card, and you're not paying it off. Oh, but you still have a 4% mortgage. Okay, stop that. Please, if you add it up, you're being nickel wise and dollar foolish. And don't lie to yourself. You can lie to everybody else, but don't lie to yourself when you say, oh, but I'm going to pay off my credit card debt somewhere down the road. Because you're not. Because you're still going to roll that and you're going to jack up those balances. Yeah, I said it. Nobody wants to hear it at 9:30 in the morning on a Saturday. You're going to do it. I know you're going to do it. Why do I know you're going to do it? I don't know, 35 years of seeing it across my desk, maybe. But come on, stop it. Do the right thing financially, and then cut up your cards.
Some of them.
And leave one or two out.
You're going to have two.
And that's it, okay? But that's what's going on. And you know who taught me this? Rick Bloom taught me this. He had the program for years, okay? You got to cut up your credit cards. You absolutely have to cut up your credit cards.
You need, in a perfect world, right, for, ideal credit, you want to have an installment loan, which is a car, a mortgage, and then 2 credit cards that you keep balances under 43%, and then you pay those off. If you're not able to do that, then you need to reevaluate how many credit cards you do have. And as we're talking about, get rid of them. There's no need for it. And the really purpose of credit is so you can establish yourself in other ways, but not to lean in on it so much where you're now in a position where you don't know what to do. And some of these like deep dive conversations that we're having when we're talking about debt consolidation, it's just making sure that like the idea of, okay, you want your payment to be $1,000 a month on your mortgage, but then you have $1,500 in credit card debt. And the idea like, oh my gosh, well, if I do all this, now my mortgage payment's going to be $1,500 a month. Okay, well, you just erased $1,500 worth of minimum payment. So now you're actually saving $1,000 a month. You have to have high level conversations with the right professionals because we are not just licensees. We are professional mortgage loan originators. You are dealing with professional real estate. There's a difference between a licensee and a professional agent in this market. And this is skill-based, and you have to be with high-level people to having high-level conversations.
Yeah, Becky, I did the math for a client this week, and we got the transaction off and rolling. Like you said, about $35,000 in horrible credit card debt. Bye-bye to that. That's over 20%. And he'll take the little bit higher interest rate. Overall savings about $940 a month, and that's immediate. And it just leaves them a little extra money. It gets them back on their family, on their feet. And as you mentioned, when that rate rolls down in the future, good.
Yeah.
Take that 30-year mortgage when you're back on your feet and you can demonstrate that you've done the right thing. Maybe drop it down to a 20-year when the rates come down.
Life happens.
There's other things.
Yeah. So this isn't like this is judgment free, right? Life happens. Life happened to all of us in 2020. There's things that were happening that nobody could control. You had to do what you had to do, right? Well, now we're in this point where we're starting to slingshot out of it. So if you have a home and you did buy a home in 2020 or whenever you did, you need to look at that financial picture because when the Fed has been increasing these rates, it's directly affected the home equity lines of credit, car loans, right? So that's why when people are talking to us about home equity lines of credit, they're like, oh my God, I didn't know those interest rates were so high. They're still lower than your credit card. And it might make sense to do that, but you have to look at the situation. How can we help you get into a better position? It might be no. It might be no, but I'm empathetic. It's not your fault. It's not because you're financially irresponsible. Just sometimes life happens, and I get that. We all get that.
Ev, let's talk about our great buyer out there. Old Doug, we won't give any last names out. Doug came in. He got pre-approved. He was ready to go. I called you up. I said, Ev, I got a great buyer for you, the
here's a
nicest
great
guy in the
thing,
world.
too.
Let's talk about that one a little.
When did you send me, Doug? Do you remember?
40 days ago?
No, you sent, or maybe it has been 40 days. It feels like it's been longer.
30?
You sent him right when I was heading off to Mexico.
Oh, yeah,
in
January.
You're right.
Okay.
So it took him a couple months to purchase. And we didn't even look at our first home till 3-4 weeks ago, or maybe a little bit more than that.
Okay.
But it took some time. But he had, as Harry touched on, he had that pre-qualification, pre-approval letter ready to go. And it made, obviously, me as the agent eager to want to work with him. And we wrote an offer. And believe it or not, we got beat out in multiple offers. But as my job as the agent, I kept in touch with that agent. And
That house
7
comes
days
up.
later,
Yep.
Yeah.
she's calling me saying, hey, they're trying to renegotiate $25,000 off the list price because the septic field failed.
What a huge mistake. Talk about unqualified. Again, it matters who you work with. We don't just say this stuff. It matters who you work with. You can't buy experience. Having you involved on the deal took some nasty septic field, which was failed. They can't put another septic field in. There was no room. We hooked up his sewer to the... All of a sudden, he's got city sewer now. It was already at the street. Cost a little bit of money. We got seller's concessions on the transaction. You better start working with the people that have experience. When we come back, 248-539-9797. Keep it here. Welcome back to the show, 931. We got tons to share with you here on the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. And we take your calls, 248-539-9797. I'm Harvey Freed, Harry Glanz, Becky Alley with Capital Mortgage, Evan Santini with Anthony John, Luxury Real Estate. Of course, always great to have you on. Ev, you and I talk like every day. We got so much going on. We still got about 3 more buyers we're still working with. We'll find some more, and we're going to put people in housing. If you're thinking about listing your house, you definitely want to give us a call. Reach out to us, please. I gave Evan a referral listing out in Belleville. That guy called me up and said, thank you, Harvey. Evan was outstanding. So I'm not I'm not making this stuff up. You got him what you promised. Hardworking, answer the phone all the time. That was huge.
The funny thing, too, about that guy was right after we closed and we signed all the papers, we're walking out to my truck, I'm giving him a closing gift and all that, and he goes, when I first met you, I thought you were full of crap, basically. I was like, I did not think you were going to get that price that I got for the home, and I put it to the market. I got exactly what he wanted to the home, and him and his wife were happier than ever that we were able to get that done for them. And it was funny when he said it. I started laughing.
And believe me, sometimes there's some smoke out there. I mean, a lot of times family will just listen to, look, I'm going to list my house with why? Because they told me they could get way more than everyone else. Sometimes that doesn't always work out. And all of a sudden, we're seeing some price reductions. That does happen still.
Yeah, I actually, a colleague of mine that we work really closely together. She lost a listing to someone that overlisted the price because she said the comps just don't support a 250 value at all. And so she said, this is the data. This is where we're going to list it. This is where I feel the market is trending. And, setting the price point right, as you know, Evan, is going to draw more attention. She was like, if you want to list it for 250, you can sit on the market and then we can eventually do a price reduction. That's fine. But she was unwilling to bend and tell this person what they wanted to hear. And she lost it to someone that told them what they wanted to hear, and it's still sitting.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Yeah. But that's the point, is like you have to, and that's the problem. I feel like there's a problem where it's like you're hiring a professional. You need to listen sometimes.
Well, there's an art to it. It's not a science, right?
Yes.
Every house is different. Every market's different. Every family has different needs. And it's really an art to it. There's no one way to go about listing a house, right? There's no one way, no one buyer that you're going to appeal to, but you have to get with somebody that I believe is experienced but is going to listen to you. And then you make the choice. I mean, you know, Evan, listen. It's not the first loan I'm ever going to lose, not the first listing you're ever going to lose, but I'm just never going to come off of what I feel is doing best. And if somebody doesn't like it, they don't like it. If they like it, fine. But I'm not going to go ahead, and I'm not going to be a chameleon and change my thought process in terms of, when I say this, my values, my ethics.
Agree.
I'm not going to tell somebody I can get something done when I can't get it done. And if they want me to bend the rules for them, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And you know what? But the argument I get, but Harry, they can go down to another lender and that other lender couldn't get it done. Fine, go. Fine. I am not going to go ahead and do it. I refuse to do it. So there are other lenders that might be able to bend the rules and get it done and operate in a gray area. It's not a great thing. I don't believe that. But if you have morals and you have ethics, Evan, you're going to do the right thing every single time.
Yeah, I agree with that emphatically, right? Even just anything personal, professional, like I feel like when you don't hit your standard, you then are in conflict with yourself. And that is horrible, to be in conflict with yourself, right? So even when you're even anything personal, right? When you're like tolerating something that you don't want to tolerate, you're constantly in conflict with yourself. And even professionally, right? We can see things that, we see things that other people might not see for themselves, and our job is to guide them, but we're not here to influence. We're helping, we're not selling. And, when you're working through this process, and it's very overwhelming for someone that you buy a house, one, maybe 2 times in your life in most cases. And, sometimes we speak that mortgagees on accident, we're speaking this language because we do it so often. But I do think it's important right now, more so than ever, to your point, Harry, is, for people to slow it down.
Listen, we want to do as many loans as we can do. Evan wants to sell as many houses and get buyers in the houses. Okay, we do. We all do. And nobody's going to argue that this is a tough time for realtors. Mortgage lenders are not doing as much business as they've done in the past. So it might be really easy to go ahead and cross that line. There's a lot of power in telling somebody, listen, here's what I'm going to do. Here's how I'm going to do it. But I'm not going to cross that line. Mm-hmm. And when you say that to somebody, it's on them. Put the ball in their court. Do they want to deal with you? I had somebody come in the office one time and say, well, you're too straight. You're
That's
too
a
straight.
compliment, right?
Yeah, you're too straight.
Thank you.
I wouldn't hire the guy. Well, you're too straight. You don't do this. Yeah, and then he called the person over. I can't go to work there because Harry's too straight.
I hope you tossed your hair and walked away.
Okay,
in
no,
that moment.
I said,
Harry
yeah,
is
that's
too
a compliment.
straight.
I'm
He's a
fine
straight
with it.
guy.
I am too straight, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of power in telling somebody, hey, no, I'm not going to do it that way. But that's a choice everybody makes, and this isn't the moral and ethics show.
No, yeah, but at the end of the day, everybody, what you have to be able to lay your head on your pillow and sleep at night, knowing
Right.
that you made the best decision for anyone in your family, professionally, whoever we're coming in contact. That's the goal here.
No doubt. Inventory still down 38%. Realtor.com is reporting this, 38% from March of 2017 to 2019 level. So, yeah, you better have your ducks in a row and make sure you're ready to make a great offer and understand all the ramifications. We've talked about in the past, Ev, when there's so much competitiveness out there, that when you go look at the house with your agent, it's not like, hey, I'm thinking about maybe bringing my folks back in a couple days. That house is going to be gone. So you have to walk in the house educated. So that's why, as much as we're like, hey, deal with these agents that are qualified, they're able to point out all these things about the house right away. Because if you don't get your offer accepted, you're not in the conversation Sunday night. If you don't hear the good news on Sunday afternoon, come Monday morning, you're off back in the car looking at what else might be in the marketplace. So we've even talked about these almost like you're turning yourself into a home inspector as an agent.
Well, you just it's not even that. You have to understand. You don't want to label it that you're a home inspector, but you have to understand a lot of major home mechanics and home structure to educate that buyer so that when you're going through that first time, it makes them way more comfortable to want to put an offer in, understanding what they're getting themselves into. And what I tend to do on a multiple offer situation is I still tell them to get an inspection, but I do a pass-fail inspection because I am pretty confident that I know that there's going to be no issues, but I want this inspector to come in and say, hey, there's no issues, and we just pass the house. And then it allows that other agent to know that, hey, I'm not playing any games with you either. I'm not coming back and trying to knock 25 grand off of our offer because of, a laundry list of items that we already knew about that you can see with your own eyes.
Yeah, Becky, we like that pass-fail, right? We want the inspection. We don't like to waive an inspection, but we like the pass-fail. And like you said, it's no nonsense. We're not coming back to renegotiate. But I like that. That is the alternative to waiving an inspection.
I don't like to waive.
No.
It's
Go.
scary.
Yeah.
It's setting
very
yourself
scary.
up for failure.
It is. And there's a lot of big issues that can come up when you do waive an inspection.
Like the septic
A
item that we were
septic field could fail.
Right.
Like, you want to be educated, because I tell them, I can see everything with my eyes. I'm usually suited and booted, so I'm saying I'm not going into
Suited
the
and
attic.
booted. I
I'm
like
not
that.
going down into the crawl space. I'm not taking a peek into your sewer lines. That's what I want you guys to look at, because those are major items.
So Harvey was one of the first people back in the mid-'90s would always say to somebody, you have to have a camera going down the sewer lines. That was his big things, and built-in pools, but because I remember everything. Harvey always told people.
And here he is coming to fruition.
Yeah, Harvey always
sewer
told
line,
people.
I'll tell the story about it a little.
Harvey always told people, you've got to have a sewer line inspection. Go with that.
No, I mean, sure enough, Harry, it had to be early 90s. I'm going to say it was 93 or 94, maybe my first couple years in the industry, and started doing a lot in Southeast Michigan, of course, Oakland County. Was my primary backyard. I do tons in Macomb, too, but any older community, these homes were built in maybe the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And sure enough, it only took one of these transactions where the clients had called me up and said, Harvey, there was a problem with the sewer line. And I remember in that case, they were able to do a minor repair. They can snake these sewer lines out. They could put a sleeve on it, and it wasn't outrageous. But sure enough, if the sewer line has failed, we've seen these quotes come back anywhere between $8,000 and $14,000. Sometimes it's across the street, so they've got to tear up the whole street, and they got the whole crew out there. So again, just smaller things like that. And often there's things when you're looking at a house with a qualified real estate agent. I say this so often. Hey, Harvey, I got to call you back after the showing. Make sure you take a look at the things that you can see above ground. Like, how old is that furnace? How old is that hot water heater? What does that roof look like? What does everything else that I can physically see in this house look like, so you can make great decisions? All right, that music says we're up against one of our breaks here. Keep it on 97.1 The Ticket. We got tons of real estate and mortgages to share with you. 248-539-9797. We'll be back. Welcome back to the show. It is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show in our 24th year, giving you some really sound advice. If you're thinking about buying a house, call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's right. We'll get you a great interest rate, save you money on closing costs, and more importantly, get you set up for success. A lot of times we get you all set up and then even turn you over to some of these great real estate agents. Evan's one of the great agents I work with. He's in my posse. He's not married to me, but we date often, which is great. And again, it's nice to have that team. If I go a day without, and Becky, you too, if you go a day without talking to like the sphere that you work with, I feel like I'm missing out on something. I mean, just to touch base and remind, hey, what about that person? The house came up on the market. Maybe call them and see if they'd still be interested. That's how you hit home runs in today's market.
Yeah, it's like the Mio commercial, right? Where it's like they leave the room and then like their hair is longer. It's like if you don't talk to them, it's like they completely changed every day. But it's important though because you have to have a connection because someone be like, I have 47 years in the business. Okay, well, you're out of touch with the market because you're not boots on the ground.
Yeah,
but you're not in it if you don't have boots on the street all the time. But, I'm part of a coaching and mentoring group, and what we talk about are the relationships that you have. And you have to have, it used to be in the old day, you have to have a Rolodex of people. You have to have a file
I still
of people.
have mine, actually.
Yeah, you have to have a network of people that you can make a call. If somebody calls you and says, hey, do you know somebody in this industry? You got to have 2 or 3 people. You have to have connections. You have to have that referral because when you have a client and you turn them over to somebody, you want to make sure they're going to get taken care of. And it's usually by somebody that has a relationship that you could trust. Listen, call Evan. He'll hook you up. He'll take care of you. He's got your back. Just give him a call, okay? He's never let me down. And that should be good enough, right? That is the ticket right there.
That's gold.
Yes.
That's gold.
That's it.
Because everyone has a person, right? But in this industry, who's on that pre-approval and who's on the other side of that offer matters. And it's not because anyone's playing favoritism, but when you get burned, you're not going to go down that road. You're like, that's a hard lesson. That's how you get a PhD in exactly what not to do and exactly who not to work for. Because if you're having someone that's running around with a piece of paper that you can't close and that's your normal behavior out of that person, well, then you're like, you know what? I got burned one too many times. I gave you enough benefit of the doubt, and now I just don't feel comfortable anymore. So,
all right, well, let's go to a caller this morning, 947. If you're just joining us, it's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Dean, you're on the line. Good morning. Welcome to our show.
Well, good morning. How's everybody?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I got a question. I'm a little worried. I'm a parent. My daughter, who's in her 30s, about to buy her first house. The house is pretty old. It's a 49 first half, and the second half was built in like 78.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a lot of sagginess, got some, drainage issues. It looks like it's maybe an FHA type deal.
Okay.
However, it's not cheap, and I'm not sure. She got an inspector coming tomorrow, but I'm a little cautious. I'm not sure what she should look for in something like this. It's expensive, but it's her first home, and I don't want her to make some sort of mistake.
I love the call. I have 2 daughters also, and I always hope that when they get to making the decisions in life, buying automobiles, the bigger decisions in life, the more expensive items, especially housing, that they have proper representation. And one of the things about older homes, it's one thing that came across my head, and I'm glad she's getting an inspection, and go to that inspection with her and make sure she's definitely there to take notes. She can find out where the water supply is to turn off the water in case of emergency. Just a lot of things that these great home inspections can point out. Again, it might be missing some additional insulation and small things. It also might have some serious issues. And just one thing came to my mind, Dean, just as you were calling, is I had a story recently where someone called me and they said they found out that the second half of the house, because it was an addition, it had no heating supply. So weird things about the heating and cooling system is make sure that the house is vented properly is something that always pops up on additions in older homes.
Right, make sure that addition is properly, the electrical, the plumbing, all those things, the reinforcement, the beams, all that. So Dee, my daughter bought a house 3 years ago, and I'm a girl dad too, and she called me up. She lives out of state, so I couldn't be there. So she said, well, we want to check this out. First of all, get an inspection. I'm glad she's getting an inspection. Now you're going to go. The thing is, you're going to be in dad mode when you're there. You're going to be looking at every nook and cranny and all that kind of thing. You in your mind have got to decide this. Is this a big deal or is this not a big deal? I mean, if it's a nail pop, don't worry about it. But what the difference is between a big deal and not such a big deal is that inspector is going to give you that guidance. So what you should do is you should go there. You should kind of stay silent. I know it's your baby girl, but then you got to make a decision on what the inspector says and then look at it that way. But I'm glad you're getting an inspection, and I'm glad you're going to be there.
Perfect. One more quick question. Mm-hmm. If there's a similar house, already updated, about a quarter mile away, same price.
You know what I'm going to add. Come on.
I mean, she should look at both.
She should definitely be looking at both and get offers accepted. If she's doing the inspection,
Now,
so she does have an offer accepted on this particular home.
She's made an offer, but she's not paid any money yet, as opposed to maybe gratis money to take a look at these homes.
Yeah, and that's going to be money well spent at the end of the day. But you also have to be, cognizant of that house that's the same price, more updated. Did they put lipstick on it, right? You need to make sure.
Need an inspection on that too.
That $400 or whatever the cost is going to be peace of mind. Let that inspector that you guys are hiring do his job. Listen, ask the questions, because that's your moment to make sure that the house has good bones, because that's really what matters. You can fix cosmetic, but if the bones are good, then you're good.
But let that inspector do their job. Let that inspector do their job, and then you're there as the dad. You'll shake your head, and then let the inspector make the hard call.
Yeah, you let the inspector hurt your feelings a little bit about the house. It's okay.
Hey, Dean, she can call us at Capital Mortgage Funding. We can help her with a great mortgage, too, and we appreciate the call. Thank you so much. All right, we let him go, and let's bring on caller Joe. Good morning, Joe. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking the call. Hey, I got a quick question. My wife and I have a second home in Florida. We purchased back in December. Now, of course, interest rates on a second home are incredibly high right now. We actually got the rate at 8.75. Our home here in Milford that we purchased a long time ago is at 2.75, something like that, incredibly low. My question is simple. How long do I have to wait to refinance this home to possibly get it to a lower interest rate? What are interest rates going at right now on second homes? And do you see a trend possibly with the feds of this interest rate going down in the next 6, 7, 8 months?
Well, let me comment first, and I know Becky wants to jump in. First of all, we definitely want to urge you to call Capital Mortgage Funding. We are part of CMG Home Loans, and we're a national company, and we have special programs for your second home where there's, I don't want to use big words out here, loan level pricing adjustments that would typically be hit on Fannie and Freddie Mac. Our interest rates are best on second purchases, so we definitely can help you refinance that one now. I might urge you to wait a little bit. Becky, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, and if you got your radio on, make sure you turn that down if you're driving, because there's a lot of background noise. But anyway, so regarding the second home, yes, you can refinance whenever you want as long as it makes sense. Your second home right now, the interest rates, they changed the guidelines for that. A second home used to mirror that of a primary residence, and all you had to do was put 10% down.
Right.
Well, everyone caught on to that in 2020 when everyone was buying the second homes because the price of the homes and the interest rates were so cheap. So they changed it, right? So now they mirror more of an investment property. But to Harvey's point, you can put 10% down if you're purchasing, and then we do have these really specialty programs where you don't have those same hits that you're going to see at our other competitors. So if you're at 8.75, I don't know if we're in a moment where it would make sense for you to refinance just yet, but I think it's worth a conversation. I think you're going to see like mid 7s. So, I mean, you would be dropping about a full percent, I would say. So I think it's worth the conversation, but we might not be taking any action steps. So we'll look at it. We'll just, we'll have that conversation with you. You're going to be in the driver's seat. And then you can just continue to monitor it for when that moment happens.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you, Joe, and definitely make sure that when time comes to pull the trigger on that, because you want to enjoy the home. Sure, taking a couple $100 off that floor to the vacation home, that second property, is going to be great news for you moving forward. That's a great call.
Yeah.
Anything else? Oh, we let him go, but thanks for the call also, Joe. 248-539-9797. Got a couple minutes left if you want to join the show. Again, Beck, we see sometimes you just went to the wrong place. Sometimes they don't have these special programs. Again, we're a full service lender. There's a difference between dealing with a mortgage banker and a broker. And then one of the number one things is we fund, underwrite, and close our own transactions. So we can also service these transactions. Again, subsequently in this gentleman's situation, save him money. And that's the key.
Well, but Harvey, we can't guarantee. And also I have to throw caution on the wind here.
Okay.
You can't guarantee when rates are going to come down.
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of lenders, or a lot of people out there that are saying, yeah, they know that rates are, well, yeah, we believe that later in the year and into 2025 rates are going to come down. We do believe that. Okay, but we can't guarantee it. And so you got to be careful when people start guaranteeing things. All right, it's like, you just can't say that for a fact.
No one ever saw the pandemic coming, Harry.
I'm a big
anything.
believer in accurate information versus inaccurate information.
Yeah,
all right. So I believe that. I do believe that rates are going to come down. I just can't tell you when they're going to come down.
Yes.
So
it's cyclical, right? I mean, you got to look back to see where you're going sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But but obviously you want to use history so that way you don't repeat the same mistakes. and use it as a lesson, right? And, and overextending yourself sometimes is a bad thing when it comes, to homes and multiple homes and things like that. But if you're financially inclined, you can do that. Go for it. Do it. Build that legacy, because they're not building more land clearly, and there's not more homes coming on the market fast enough. So if you're so inclined, you can have multiple properties. Bless you.
So it goes to the rate issue, and I would say to Evan when he's taking his clients out there, the rates today, don't worry about the rate. Worry about getting the house.
Yeah, lock in that price point.
And then if and when they come down, then we can take care of that then. At least you'll have the house that you want. You'll be making the payments. You're not in the rat race looking. You're not paying rent. And then in the future, we'll lower that rate for you. Don't worry about what rates are going to do in the future. Yeah. Take care of your situation now. Address it now.
Get an affordable payment now. Lock in the price of the home now, because the home prices are not going to go to the moon, but they're not coming down anytime soon. We are in an appreciating market, and over history, you can see that.
Start putting all your money away in that piggy bank. Yeah. Keep putting it away.
Buy Even the grocery bills are appreciating.
Yes, everything is.
You're a buyer next year. In the next 12 months, you're a buyer. So hopefully good news on that. Always thanks for joining us, my man.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Evan Santini, Anthony John, Luxury Real Estate. You can find Evan. Just look him up, Evan Santini. It's easy enough. You Google him, and then you can call us at Capital. We'll get you hooked up with all these great agents. That music says it's time to go. Tons of sports. Keep it on 97.1 The Ticket. We got Pat Caputo coming up next. And if you want to reach us, call Capital Mortgage Funding at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We'll see you next Saturday.